last week saying it would be a mistake for the government to continue supplementing unemployment benefits this way. With us now is Stephen Davis. He's professor of economics at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. He's also an advisor to the Congressional Budget Office, and it's good to have you back. Welcome.
Thanks, Kelly. It's great to be back.
There's been a piling up of studies that run counter to your findings. There's the study by Yale economists finding no evidence that people who lost their job are choosing to stay unemployed. They say workers facing larger unemployment expansions appear to be quicker to return to work than others, not slower. We had Ernie Tedeschi from Evercore ISI on last week. They did a study. They found no evidence that the generosity has held back job finding. So to me, the problem with all of these differing results is it suggests that it's political, that people are just going to come to the conclusions they want to come to.
Well, that's probably true. Economist studies are often in service of whatever the politicians want to do anyway.
So tell me why you think, and what your findings say, points to there being a real disincentive for people to return to work. Even if, would you say that's true, even if it's $200 and not $600?
Yeah, the disincentives are less. But I want to make a comment about the study. But before I do that, I just want to apply a little bit of common sense. And even economists are allowed to use common sense. So I just imagine my 10-year-old self approaching my parents and saying, why don't you try to pay me $200 a week to not clean my bedroom? We don't have any studies on this question. Maybe you might be surprised. Maybe you might find that I actually clean my bedroom. I think after chuckling, my parents would have told me, nice try, but we don't really need a study to understand that there's a disincentive effect in play. Now, if I could go to the Yale study, which I think is an interesting study, but it's very important to understand its limitations. That is a study about the recall of temporarily laid off workers. And those workers, when they're recalled, are legally obligated to go back to their job, or they lose the unemployment benefits that they would otherwise be entitled to, not just the $600, but the whole thing. That's very different than the situation facing a person who's permanently lost their job and is thinking about how hard do I want to search for another job? Do I want to take one that I know might be available? It also doesn't speak to the incentives or the challenges facing employers who, in creating new jobs, not recalling workers' old jobs, but in creating new jobs, need to compete against the prevailing level of unemployment benefits. Those latter two things, dealing with permanent job loss, providing employers incentives to create new job losses, those will be increasingly important relative to recalls of temporary layoffs as we go forward in the coming months.
Yeah, and we only have a couple of seconds left, but it seems to me that if you abruptly stop this payment and nothing comes back in the wake, there'd be bad economic disruption as a result of that, no?
Yeah, look, I do favor income relief programs, but there are many ways to provide income relief that doesn't destroy the financial returns to work. And I think that's what we ought to be focused on. And I do not think the $600 unemployment benefit supplement does a very good job of targeting those families that are most in need.
Yeah, and we've talked about maybe incentives to go back to work, and that could be a part of this bill as well as it continues to get hammered out. Stephen Davis, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
From the University of Chicago Booth School of Business.